If you stayed up late just to watch the Ravens lose, then honestly, hats off to you. That takes a special kind of dedication, or maybe just that classic AFC North brand of pettiness we all know and love. Because while that might have been entertaining for some folks in Pittsburgh, today's conversation isn't about Baltimore. They can cry about their own collapse. Here, it's about something far more pressing, Aaron Rodgers. And not in the way we've talked about him all offseason, stressing about whether or not he'd come, whether his age would catch up with him, or how he'd adjust to a new locker room. No, this time it's about stepping in early and firmly to defend the man. Because that's where we're headed, whether people want to admit it yet or not. Let's be real. The conversation hasn't quite turned ugly. Not yet. You're not hearing the usual calls from the rooftops or seeing the fan base revolt. Not the way it did during the final years of Ben Roethlisberger or during the endless carousel of quarterbacks that followed. But if you're paying attention, if you're tuned into the noise on social media, talk shows, and the corners of the internet where Steelers fans gather, you can already feel it creeping in. The whispers, the doubts, the early grumbling. It's subtle, but it's there. And it's why this is the right time to stand up and say, pump the brakes. Let's not start rewriting history 3 games into the season. Rodgers isn't the problem. Not even close. Has he been perfect? No. Against the Patriots, he went 16 for 23 for a mere 139 yards. Yes, 2 touchdowns, but also a rough interception. That pick was one of the ugliest he's thrown in years, not just because of the result, but because of how flat-out weird the decision looked. Like, what was he seeing? Or maybe the better question is, what was he expecting from the play call? Because that's what it felt like, a quarterback operating inside a box that doesn't suit his style, his intelligence, or his instincts. You give a guy like Rodgers a limited toolbox, and you're going to see limited results. Look at the numbers, sure, but look at them in context. He was barely pressured against New England, which on paper is good. No sacks after taking 7 in the first 2 games. But when you look closer, you realize why the sack count dropped. They weren't even letting him breathe back there. The ball was coming out lightning quick, plays were developing in the flat or behind the line of scrimmage, and not once did it feel like the offense was challenging anyone more than 5 yards downfield. That's not Rodgers football. That's survival football. And that's a system that's designed to mask a much bigger issue, a shaky offensive line that the coaching staff clearly doesn't trust. And that's where we start to unravel the real story. Because this isn't about 1 or 2 bad throws. This isn't about Rodgers losing his fastball. This is about the Steelers being caught in a tug of war between what they want to be and what they can be. They want to open things up. They want to be aggressive. But every decision, every sideways screen, every early check down, every route that cuts off before the sticks screams one thing: fear. Fear of the pocket collapsing. Fear of breakdowns. Fear of giving Rodgers even a fraction of a second too long. And when fear drives the offense, you're not playing to win. You're playing not to lose. And that's not a recipe for anything other than more of the same frustration we've seen for years. Now, to be fair, this offensive line was always going to be a question mark. It's a mix of raw potential, inconsistency, and questionable assignments. And yeah, maybe we all got a little too optimistic after that first week against the Seahawks. Rodgers looked sharp, the playbook was creative, and there was actual rhythm. But since then, it's been a regression, not just in execution, but in philosophy. It's like the coaching staff saw the pressure in week 1 and said, okay, new plan. Let's never let Rodgers hold the ball again. And that's when things started to fall apart. Not because Rodgers isn't adapting, but because they're not letting him be who he is. They're not giving him the time, space, or trust to run the show the way he can. What's crazy is that Rodgers hasn't even been bad. That's the wild part. He's been fine. That's the word, fine. Not elite, not vintage MVP, but solid. Which, given the circumstances, is actually kind of impressive. He's dealing with a brand new system, a shaky line, and receivers who aren't getting time to develop their routes. And yet he's still completing passes, still moving the chains, still leading. He's not panicking. He's not finger-pointing. He's not creating drama. He's steady, and that should count for something, especially on a team that's been desperate for stability at quarterback for years. And let's talk about those intangibles, because they matter. Rodgers hasn't come in with ego. He hasn't tried to dominate the room. But make no mistake, when he walks into a meeting, everyone knows who he is. That presence matters. That voice matters. And maybe now is the time he needs to use it a little more forcefully. Not in a way that calls people out or creates friction, but in a way that says, this is not good enough. Because if he doesn't say it, who will? Who else in that room has the authority or the experience to challenge the status quo and demand more? There are moments, like in Foxborough, where the whole offensive approach feels like a team trying to win with smoke and mirrors. Not because they don't have the talent, but because they're too afraid to let it shine. The coaching staff needs to be honest with themselves. Is the goal to hide the offensive line, or is it to win football games? Because those two things might not be compatible right now. At some point, you have to take a risk. You have to let Rodgers take a 7-step drop. You have to let a route develop. You have to stop playing offense like you're allergic to vertical throws. If you want to fix this, it starts with trust. And it starts with trusting the best player on the field. There's also the matter of usage. Tight ends, underutilized, wide outs, running routes too short to matter. Running backs, used like they're disposable. And meanwhile, Rodgers is stuck trying to make all of it look functional with quick outs and screens. It's beneath him, not because he's arrogant, but because he's capable of so much more. Let him operate. Let him dictate. Give him freedom. This isn't some rookie who needs training wheels. This is Aaron Rodgers, 4-time MVP, Super Bowl champion, one of the best to ever spin a football. Treat him like it. And here's where things get tricky. Because if this doesn't change, and fast, the narrative will flip. It always does. The media will turn. The fans will get louder. The blame will start trickling down. And fair or not, Rodgers will be in the crosshairs. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked. Quarterbacks get the praise, but they also get the fire. And that's why now is the time to stop this thing from spiraling. Before it becomes a weekly question of what's wrong with Rodgers, instead of what are the Steelers doing to help him. He still has the arm. He still has the brain. He still has the drive. What he doesn't have is time in the pocket and trust in the scheme. Fix those two things, and you'll start to see the offense this team dreamed of when they made the call to bring him to Pittsburgh. But if you keep trying to protect him by playing scared, you're going to waste one of the greatest to ever do it. And this team is going to find itself right back where it's been, wondering what could have been if only they'd let their quarterback be himself. It's not just about calling better plays. It's about letting Aaron Rodgers actually have a voice in what this offense becomes. This isn't Green Bay, but the man didn't forget how to read a defense overnight. He's still one of the smartest players in the league. And you can see it in flashes, those quick adjustments at the line, those subtle shifts in tempo, the little moments where it looks like he's trying to pull the game toward him, even if the system around him is pulling the other way. That tension, that's what has to break. Because Rodgers doesn't need to adjust to the offense. The offense needs to adjust to him. And the sooner that happens, the better this team will look. Look at where the Steelers are right now. They're trying to build something, trying to find consistency, trying to find identity. And in a weird way, that's part of the problem. They're trying to define themselves with structure, not flow. With control, not freedom. But the best offenses, the truly dangerous ones, are the ones that know when to let go. They're the ones that trust their quarterback to feel the game and shape it in real time. Rodgers has made a career out of doing exactly that. He doesn't need a script. He needs a canvas. He needs the ability to extend plays, push boundaries, and create openings where none existed. And this roster, it's not lacking talent. The pieces are there. The receivers can get separation. The tight ends are big, athletic, and underused. The backs are versatile if you let them be. But what's missing is rhythm, timing, belief. You can tell when an offense is confident, when it feels dangerous. Right now, this unit feels cautious. Everything is safe. Everything is minimized. They're trying so hard not to make mistakes that they've forgotten how to make plays. And that's not on Rodgers. That's on the philosophy. That's on the tone being set from the top. If you look at the film, the patterns are obvious. The routes are often short and clustered. The spacing is poor. The timing is rushed. And the few times they try to stretch the field, it looks like a foreign language. Either Rodgers doesn't have the time, or the receivers aren't prepared, or The play design is so out of sync that it never had a chance. But that's fixable. That's why Rodgers is here, to bring that clarity, to bring that execution. You just have to let him lead. And maybe that's the conversation no one wants to have yet, that it might be time for a shift in power inside that building. Not a mutiny, not a rebellion, but a rebalancing. This isn't about Mike Tomlin losing the locker room or Arthur Smith being incompetent. This is about realizing what you have. You brought in Aaron Rodgers, not a stopgap, not a placeholder, a generational quarterback. And with that comes a responsibility to adapt. You can't just plug him into your existing framework and expect it to flourish. You have to reshape the framework around him. That means more than just giving him a longer leash on Sundays. It means involving him in the week-to-week planning. It means asking him what works, what he sees, what he feels in the pocket. It means respecting not just his resume, but his instincts. Because Rodgers isn't guessing out there. He's diagnosing. He's seeing the game at a speed most players never will. If you don't take advantage of that, you're wasting him. Full stop. It also means being willing to experiment, to try formations and tempo changes that break your usual tendencies, to call plays that challenge your players, not just protect them. Because you can't live in this ultra-conservative box forever. You can't win games in today's NFL scoring 17 points and praying the defense holds. You need explosion. You need unpredictability. And the only way to get that is by embracing the chaos that comes with creativity. Rodgers has lived in that chaos for years. He thrives there. You just have to trust him enough to step into it with him. And yes, there will be bumps. There will be moments where it doesn't work, where a deep shot misses, or a protection breaks down, or someone runs the wrong route. That's part of the process. But it's better than this slow suffocation we're watching now. This offense that's being so carefully managed it can barely breathe. Rodgers didn't come to Pittsburgh to be micromanaged. He came to compete. He came to win. And he came to play quarterback the way only he can. The weird thing is, you can tell he's still being patient. He's not showing frustration. He's not lashing out. He's working within the structure. But you can also tell it's wearing thin. Those throws into the ground, those misfires down the sideline, that's not mechanical failure. That's a quarterback trying to make something happen without the freedom to fully do it. That's a guy looking for an opportunity that just isn't there yet. And if this continues, eventually, that patience will run out. There's also the elephant in the room. Time. Rodgers isn't 29 anymore. He's not looking at a 5-year window. Every snap, every drive, every week matters more now. There's no space for long rebuilds or cautious experimentation. You either go for it or you don't. And if you're not going to give him the system and support he needs to go for it, then what was the point of bringing him in at all? But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The Steelers' locker room is reportedly in turmoil, with tensions bubbling between young star Kenny FREIERMUTH and veteran lineman HEYWARD. Sources close to the team suggest the situation has reached a point where it could divide the squad, raising eyebrows across the NFL. What started as a difference in approach on the field has allegedly spilled over into off-field interactions, with teammates reportedly feeling the pressure to pick sides. FREIERMUTH, known for his fiery competitiveness and rising profile, has been praised for his explosive plays and fearless approach. HEYWARD, a cornerstone of the Steelers' defense for years, commands respect not only for his performance, but also for his leadership and presence in the locker room. Insiders suggest the clash is more than just personality. It's a battle of philosophies, with the younger generation pushing a fast-paced, high-risk approach while the veterans favor discipline and structure. Rumors hint that certain players have started aligning themselves quietly with one side or the other, and that the coaching staff has been forced into damage control mode. The front office reportedly convened multiple closed-door meetings in an attempt to smooth things over, but whispers indicate that harmony is far from restored. Some believe this could affect game day performance, as locker room unity is often cited as a crucial factor in close matchups. Fans and analysts are watching nervously. Could this internal friction derail the Steelers season? Or will the team find a way to channel the tension into on-field firepower? The debate rages across social media, with speculation mounting over whether the feud could lead to a trade, a shift in playing time, or even an unprecedented public showdown. For now, the team is walking a fine line between maintaining professionalism and managing egos, and the coming weeks may determine whether the Steelers emerge stronger or fractured. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.